There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
The following program is paid for by Barbara Arnwine.
The topics, views, and opinions expressed on the air and via All Igniting Change with Barbara Arnwine, platforms by host Barbara Arnwine Esquire, guests, and supporters are their own and are independent of any organization, entity. Nothing said on the show or any of its platforms constitutes a client-attorney relationship or serves as legal advice counsel. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to Igniting Change, its platforms, or the show's host. It's time now for Igniting Change, a weekly provocative and empowering program where you, the listener, can ignite change. Now here's your host, Barbara Arnwine.
Get up, stand up.
Good afternoon. Welcome to all of those on the East Coast. We say good morning to all of those throughout the rest of the country. Hey, Mighty South, it is time for us to talk. You know, today, folks, is voting day. Yes, there's votes going on, and we want to make sure that you are part of the voting team. Let me bring on my amazing co-host. I'm talking about none other than the chairman of the board of the Transformative Justice Coalition and one of our nation's most creative, innovative, smart, strategic lawyers. Yes, I'm talking about one of the nation's foremost civil rights and voting rights lawyers, none other than Daryl D. Jones. Hey, Daryl.
Hey, Barbara, it must be Tuesday. Must be noon Eastern Standard Time because we're talking about igniting change across the country. Barbara, as you said, there are igniting change in the vote today in 5 different states. If you're in Arizona, where we'll be headed, Florida, Illinois, Kansas, or Ohio, today is your voting day. Get your vote on. And Barbara, what an exciting show we have scheduled for today, set for today. 2 just outstanding guests. You know, one hails from Baltimore City where he's teaching, so you know I'm high on that. I can't wait to get started there, Barb.
Yes, you know, we are so excited about today because today's show is part 2 of the show that we started last week in honor of Women's History Month. We're talking about Black women in U.S. history and all the amazing accomplishments, achievements, contributions that Black women have made, often unsung, often unknown. So we're going to focus on 2 aspects of African-American women's contributions today. And I want to note, everybody, you know the movie just came out, Shirley Chisholm. Don't forget to watch it. Don't forget to catch the premieres that are happening on Friday also. So let's do this, folks. But today we're going to talk about 2 incredible figures. We're going to talk about the amazing story of Anna Julia Cooper, and we're going to talk about the incredibly brilliant stories of the women of the cotillia. And you're saying, what's that? What's a cotillia, Barbara? What are you talking about? Well, we're going to talk about Africatown. And you say, wait, I still don't know what you're talking about. Well, you're going to learn a lot today because we have some amazing guests. The first guest that I would like to introduce is none other than a returning guest. He was with us last week. He brought a lot of great insight on some African-American women, achievers, activists, orators, scholars. Oh, my goodness, he was running the gamut, and that's because he teaches, at Johns Hopkins University. He's a member of the African-American Policy Forum Board. He's a practicing attorney, civil rights advocate, and educator, former student of the late Honorable Judge A. Leon Higginbotham, who was on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and he was mentored by the late Professor Derek Bell, both at the time that he was at Harvard and NYU. I'm talking about none other than Professor and attorney Ernest J. Quarles. Hey, Ernie.
How you doing, Barbara? How you doing, Daryl? Just thrilled to be here with you today.
Oh, we are so honored to have you. And we know that, you have done so much amazing research, so much amazing scholarship, and Black women have been the center of your focus. Their achievements, their hidden, more than, quote, hidden figures, the people who really constructed the basis on which we stand in this society. So it is just beautiful to have you on the show. The other person I want to introduce is Tiffany Pogue. Tiffany, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Oh, wonderful. Tiffany Pogue is a alumni and TJC fellow. She's a native of Mobile, Alabama. She is a community organizer, mental health advocate, empowerment activist, and youth mentor. Tiffany is an alumni of the University of South Alabama. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and a minor in sociology. She utilizes her degree by developing programs, initiatives, and events that curate moments of empowerment and awareness. She's a founding executive board member for Stand Up Mobile, a local nonprofit youth mobilization organization. Tiffany is a founder of the Boys and Girls Clubs of South Alabama's annual Advocates for Girls Conference, where young girls learn from and connect with prominent women in the Mobile community. The third annual Girls Empowerment Conference was just held yesterday, everybody, on Monday, March 18th. And impacted over 100 girls throughout Mobile County. We got to hear about this. Tiffany is also a lifetime member of the Clotilda Descendants Association, where she shares the story of her African ancestors who survived the last known slave ship in America. And she actively supports the community they built, Africatown, Alabama. Welcome for your first time, Tiffany Pogue, to Igniting Change. We are so glad to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
It's a privilege to be here.
All right, so Daryl, let's get rolling. We got a whole lot to cover. Last week we ran out of time because it's just when you talk about Black women, you talk about so much. So Daryl, do you want to get us started?
Oh, sure. And Ernie Quarles, coming out of Hopkins and everything and all the great research and history that you've produced, I know that you and Barbara had the opportunity to go off to see a play, Tempestuous Elements. And I was talking about the life of Anna Julia Cooper. Could you share with our audience a little bit about Anna Julia Cooper and the play?
Oh, absolutely, Daryl. And it was a joy to be there with Barbara, because as you know, anywhere Barbara goes, she brings a whole lot of energy, and I think the cast was feeling Barbara's energy as well. But
amazing cast.
Anna Julia Cooper, as most of us know, is not really, she lived between 1858 and 1964. She was 105 years old on her passing. And she's not a household name, nor is she someone really encountered in most U.S. history books. But her life spanned, obviously, from the post-slavery era to civil rights movement through all those years. And she really fervently pushed for progress, particularly for education and progress for African-American women. And, we'll get into this, into a lot of the other things a little bit later. But what dawned on me after the play, where they really examined what took place in D.C. when she was heading up the M Street School, and the intersections between a lot of critical political players, people like Du Bois, Mary Church Terrell, and what that whole thing was about. And it's interesting because that whole story really impacts where we even are today. And I think after watching the play and hearing the story, she was an educator who basically did not subscribe to the Booker T. Washington route of ascendance or excellence. She was one that instilled in Black boys and girls, particularly, that you could be anything you wanted to be. And she actually had her techniques or her curriculum had actually successfully allowed many of these children to go into schools of higher learning, the elite institutions like the Harvards, the Yales. They were getting into these schools on a regular basis. And I think really what really was happening very clearly, and you see it here in the play, the white supremacy obviously is the foundation of our company. But I think what white people feared most in what she was doing in their minds is that she was creating almost a super class of Black folks, not a class that was equal to where white folks were, but literally a class that went well beyond what white people were doing. And I think that's significantly important because of the time period. We're talking about late 1800s. That was before Booker W.E.B. Du Bois' Souls of Black Folk. So I'll just give you a little, a hint there. But a lot of the reading that you will do with Anna Julia Cooper's Voices from the South, which was published in 1892, and then if you go and read Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois, you're going to see an awful lot of similarity. But we'll get into a lot of that later. But I think, it's incredibly instructive to us to see what she was doing at the time. And then when you open your U.S. passport, clearly, she is the only woman in the U.S. passport who's quoted. And some may say, well, how does that happen? Well, it happens when you go to vote. Okay, getting back to the main reason that we're really here is to get people to go out and vote. And by that, what I'm saying is, in 2007, the U.S. passport was redesigned, and Anna Julia Cooper's quote was incorporated in that redesign. And the person who signed off on that quote was Colin Powell. So if you understand the value of voting, you understand clearly that it basically creates opportunities for people of color to be in certain positions. And here is a perfect example where, were it not for Colin Powell, even, most of us wouldn't even know about that passport quote. Many don't. But it sheds light on not just our past, but also definitive links to where we are presently.
And, Professor Quarles, I know that you do quite a bit of writing yourself and a lot of research. And you wrote a foreword, if I'm correct, to a book that's now examining African American women in the United States. Can you tell our audience a little bit about the overview and that work so that people can start ordering it now and become aware of what this book is?
Sure. It was really a delight. The book, the title of it is 19th Century African American Narratives in Britain and Ireland, and basically it's a combination of narratives and speeches of former enslaved people here, many of them women and men, here in the U.S., who then migrated to Britain and Ireland and Scotland. Some of them came back, some of them stayed. They were advocating for stopping lynching, advocating for voting rights. And it's really the first scholarly anthology of narratives written by African American authors, some known, many unknown, pioneering people at the time: Phoebe and Jacob, Sarah Parker Redmond, Dinah Hope Brown, Kelly Brown, and Ida B. Wells. And all these authors really testified to really their lifelong fight for freedom. And what I did in my foreword was there were a lot of instances where the stories of women were written by white persons, and I found that some